This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com and GatheringMagic.com, your place to explore the game.
Hi, my name is Kody, and this is my General Tazri EDH deck. This is my General Tazri Ally Tribal EDH deck. General Tazri is a 3/4 legendary creature human ally for 4 and a white. She reads, when General Tazri enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an ally creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. She also has white, blue, black, red, green. Ally creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of colors among those creatures. This has kind of been a long time coming for us tribal enthusiasts that have wanted a 5-color ally deck that we can put together. And so, like most allies, she has an enter the battlefield ability. Just hers is a tutor instead of a combat-related ability. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we're starting off with our lands. Being a 5-color deck, we don't run too many basics. In fact, we only run one of each. So we have a plains, an island, a swamp, a mountain, and a forest. And we're going on to some tri-lands. We have a Sandsteppe Citadel, an Opulent Palace, Seaside Citadel, and a Frontier Bivouac. Moving on to our shocklands. We have run most of the shocklands in this deck. As you might expect, you need to fetch lands with fetch lands, and you just need fixing, so the shocklands are the best thing we can get outside of revised duels. So we have a Hallowed Fountain, Sacred Foundry, Temple Garden, Overgrown Tomb, Stomping Ground, Godless Shrine, Blood Crypt, Breeding Pool, and Steam Vents. Moving on to some other lands, we have a few more fixing lands. Mana Confluence that lets you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for a life. Reflecting Pool that taps to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for any land you control. Command Tower is just always good. Meteor Crater, you choose a color of a permanent and you add a mana of that color to your mana pool. I don't think any ally deck is complete without Ally Encampment. It taps out a generic or 1 mana of any color for allies, and you can sack it to get an ally back. Cavern of Souls goes in any tribal deck, just makes those creatures uncounterable. And running pretty much every fetch that I own. We need to get lands on specific turns sometimes, and just it's good to have them. Wooded Foothills, Misty Rainforest, Flooded Strand, Bloodstained Mire, Windswept Heath. Oh, and Polluted Delta. Couldn't forget that one. So next we have a few more just kind of utility lands all around, good stuff lands. We have Mutavault. Just becomes a dude, becomes an ally more importantly. Thespian Stage, we can copy other people's lands if we need the fixing, or we can just, copy another ally encampment. Azuva, same thing, just kind of comes in as a copy of anything. Urborg, just gotta fix that mana sometimes, and Urborg helps us get black. Flagstones of Trokair just kind of helps against land destruction decks, which there honestly aren't too many, but can never be too careful sometimes. Temple of the False God. Reliquary Tower, in case we draw too many cards. And that rounds out the lands. There's 37 lands in this deck. That's all of them. So we're going to move into the instants and sorceries. I don't run that many instants or sorceries, but there's 4 instants, and pretty much they're all very welcome in this deck. Swords of Plowshares, just get rid of a creature. Oblation, it kind of helps save an ally that's very pertinent to our game plan. or it just gets rid of an opponent's creature that's in the way that we just can't get past. Cyclonic Rift, just bounce everything is usually a solid play. Krosan Grip, let's get rid of those Sensei's Divining Top or Soul Rings, just to kind of slow other people down a little bit. Now into the sorceries. This deck actually runs quite a few board wipes, for the reason that we like to recur our allies and get them back. But Retribution of the Meek is very good in this deck because most of the creatures that come into play have power 4 or less as they enter, at least. We also have Wrath of God. Rite of Replication just doubles up on allies. You can hit a pertinent ally and just kind of go to town on drain life abilities or anything like that. Living Death. Patriarch Spitting. Both kind of the same thing, just kind of bring back all of our allies in one fell swoop. Reforge the Soul. Sometimes you just need to draw those cards. All Sun's Dawn lets us bring back one of each color. There's all 5 colors of allies in here, so it's just a nice little recursion. Bring to Light. I found every time that I've had this in my hand, it basically searches up Patriarch Spitting and casts Patriarch Spitting. Immortal Servitude. Most of our allies are pretty cheap, so it's basically just a good way to get everything back from the graveyard. March from the Tomb. Another All Sun's Dawn effect. Just grab a couple allies, the most permanent ones, give everything haste or something like that. It's a nice little effect to get from the graveyard. Another board wipe, Supreme Verdict. Just can't be countered, so it's kind of nice. Alright, now we're on to the creatures. I'm starting off with the ally creatures. There's a few non-ally creatures, and I'll get into why they're in the deck in a moment. So we're going to start off with Hada Freeblade. When he or another ally enters, he gets a +1/+1 counter. Ondu Cleric. Whenever he or another ally enters, you gain life equal to the number of allies you control. Kazandu Blademaster. He's a better Hada Freeblade. He's a 1/1 with First Strike and Vigilance, and gains a +1/+1 counter when he or an ally enters. Mirror Entity, it's pretty obvious, just pumps everybody, and he just happens to be an ally because of that Changeling ability. Lantern Scout gives all allies lifelink, which can be really good because, we're shocking ourselves with all those shock lands and fetch lands. Talus Paladin, when he or another ally enters, I may have allies that you control gain lifelink, and you put a +1/+1 counter on him. I don't know why that's a May ability, but I'm sure there's a rules reason. Hero of Gomafada, whenever he enters, creatures you control gain indestructible. And that's important that it says creatures, not just allies. So, Dwari Shapeshifter, just basically a clone, comes in as a copy of any ally. Umar Raptor, he's again a lot like Hada Freeblade, except he just has flying. So sometimes you need a flying blocker. Seascape Aerialist, whenever he or another ally enters, all allies gain flying. Seagate Loremaster. Now this guy is very important to this deck. He's usually the first person I search up with General Tazri, because you can refill your hand. So normally, in a normal game, you'll be playing out your lands and dumping your creatures as you get them. So when General Tazri hits, I search up Seagate Loremaster, play Seagate Loremaster, and try to refill my hand before I can, continue on. Agademe Occultist basically takes a creature from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. If its converted mana cost is equal to the number of allies you control. So it's great for Crater of Behemoth and whatnot. Then we have Drana, Liberator of Malakir. So she's flying first strike, and when she deals combat damage to a player, you put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature. So that's a nice little bonus. Balaged Thief. It's a lot like a Thoughtseize, except you can take lands, and the opponent reveals the number of cards in their hand equal to the number of allies you control. So that's a nice little disruption. Nemanta Sellsword. He's the same as Hada Freeblade again, just puts +1/+1 counters on him. Hagra Diabolist, another one of the really good allies in the deck. A friend actually convinced me to put him in, but he drains life equal to the number of allies you control. I've literally won games off of this guy, just, dropping him, playing a few allies, or just Rite of Replicationing him himself. And you can really, really, really put the hurt on your opponents with this guy. Torian Mauler, again, an ally by proxy. He's a shapeshifter, and he gets +1/+1 counters when your opponents do things. In a 4-player game, he can get out of hand. Fire Mantle Mage gives my dudes menace. Chasm Guide just gives everybody haste. Tuk Tuk Scrapper is also another good search target with General Tazri. Whenever he or another ally enters, you can destroy an artifact. If its converted mana cost is equal to the number of allies you control. Oh, I'm sorry, and it deals damage to target artifact's controller. So that's another pretty awesome little deal. Kazul Warlord. Whenever he or another ally enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on each ally you control. So it just kind of helps swing combat in your favor. Beastcaller Savant. He's just a hasty mana dork, but he's also an ally, so he triggers everything. So that's kind of a nice little bonus. Harabaz Druid. He taps to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of allies you control. Just ramp. Turn Timber Ranger. There's a lot of decks that can kind of go infinite with this guy, because he's a kind of combolicious dude. But he puts a 2/2 wolf, and you put a +1/+1 counter on him. And our only multicolor ally besides General Tazri is Angelic Captain, 3 red-white. Whenever she attacks, she gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other attacking ally. So then I have some non-ally creatures. Adaptive Automaton. He's ally lord, and he's pretty good. Such loyalty can only be made. Deadeye Navigator is kind of there for obvious purposes. You can flicker allies to get more out of them. It's pretty neat little dude. Mentor of the Meek. Almost all the allies are really cheap when they come in, and they have low power. So if they have low power, we can draw a few cards off of this guy. Athreos, God of Passage. Let's give our opponents the option to give our allies back. If not, we can throw a lightning bolt their way. Joiner Adept. In a 5-color deck, sometimes you just need to fix your lands. Or fix your mana, rather. Alesha, who smiles at death. Just another way to, get an ally back from the graveyard. Throw another combat ability in there, and, just kind of help mess up combat a little bit. Then we just have our artifacts. Commander's Fear fixes and draws. It's pretty nice. Darksteel Ingot also fixes. Chromatic Lantern is important in any multicolor deck. Soul Ring. Sub-Protection is in Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves. Conjurer's Closet. Let's just keep flickering General Tazri, or just for any other enter the battlefield ability. Stoneforge Masterwork. This is just a nice little pump spell, and it makes if you can make some tokens, it's a really nice little effect. Also very cheap to cast and equip. Captain's Claws makes an ally every combat, kind of helps pump up combat math in your favor. And Coat of Arms. You pretty much only want to drop this when you're about to win the game, but it is a pretty unique effect, and you'll probably win off this card. Then we have a few enchantments. Retreat to Emeria. This is actually kind of an all-star in this deck. Just makes an ally every turn. Get lots of triggers. Reconnaissance. Really messes up combat math, and you can pull back your creatures that would die in combat, or just pull them back even after damage is dealt, just to have semi-vigilant blockers. Rhystic Study, as well as this next card, which is Phyrexian Arena. Both draw us cards. We just need to draw cards. We need to keep our hand full. We need to keep casting dudes. Then next we have our last 2 cards is Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. Mostly just makes dudes. Honestly, I've never cast him in this deck, but he does make allies every turn, so that's a neat little dude. a neat little thing. And when he becomes a creature, he's also an ally, so he gets any creature buffs that come along with the rest of your deck. And Venser, just a neat little guy. He can flicker a dude or make something huge and unblockable. And also his ultimate's not bad, but generally you won't get there. And that is all. Thanks for watching CMDR decks. Please like this video and subscribe.